So I've ranked every single episode on Ninjago, but first I'll go through my marking criteria. So in season 11 to 15, the episodes became 11 minutes instead of 22, so I put 2 episodes in one. And I based everything off 7 criteria. Were they uncharacteristic? Did they talk uncharacteristic? Was the plot armor, plot convenience? Did I cringe? Did I laugh? And did I enjoy myself? So all in all, it's actually 191 ranked, but that doesn't really matter. I'm going to go over the seasons just to give a bit of a rundown and then we'll get right to it. Nia is kidnapped by Samukai, and Kai together with Zane, Jay and Cole must collect the 4 golden weapons before Garmadon and rescue her. They succeed in collecting the golden weapons, but not before Garmadon can escape the underworld and return with power to hold all 4 golden weapons. Season 1, Lloyd awakens Serpentine, who awaken the Great Devourer. Wu brings back Garmadon to use the golden weapons to defeat the Great Devourer. Season 2, Garmadon creates a mega weapon from the 4 golden weapons, but it gets destroyed and sent to an asteroid. Lloyd grows up thanks to a potion, and the Overlord tricks Garmadon, uses his body and his stone army to take over Ninjago, but Lloyd, becoming the Golden Ninja, saves the day. Season 3, Overlord is now in the Digiverse and takes over Ninjago, but the ninjas use tech weapons to stop him and turn off the power. But Pythor rescues him and gets the golden weapons back to forge golden armor. Luckily, Zane, who is now a robot, or he was always a robot, but we just found that out, overloads the Overlord. But wait, Zane is not actually gone, because Season 4 is here, and the ninja have to fight against the other elemental masters in Chen's tournament to rescue him. But his daughter Skylar is a traitor, and Chen wants to use the elemental powers to become Anaconda and take over Ninjago. But thanks to Pythor, believing they are not true Anaconda, they are stopped. Season 5, but to seal away all these new Anaconda, someone escaped, called Morrow. Morrow, leaving the cursed realm, tries and does take over Lloyd's body, and he attains a realm crystal to free the Preeminent, when offs itself by walking into deep water, its only weakness, and Morrow goes down with the ship because he doesn't want to be saved, which is honestly kind of dumb. Like, the Preeminent could have just avoided the water and taken over Ninjago. Guess who escaped from the Preeminent? Klaus. And he finds the Jin bottle, and guess what he does? He loses to the Jin instantly, and now the Jin, wanting to take the ninja away to create Ninjago, which was destroyed, as 2 realms are linked. So when the Preeminence realm got destroyed, the Cursed realm, also Ninjago got destroyed. So now the Jin, wanting to take all the ninjas, pretty bad. But he also wants to marry Nia because she looks like his old love, his old flame. But luckily, Jay, who was the only one with a wish remaining, stopped Jin. And guess what? He wished for everything to be undone. So only 2 people know what happened in the whole season. His enemy, Acronix, travels 40 years in the future just to beat him, but Wu is ready. Unless he loses, which he does, and is hit with the Time Blade, so now he's rapidly aging. And Acronix and Crux need the 3 other Time Blades to travel back in time and redo the battle from 40 years ago. But this time they'll try to win. Luckily, together, Kai and Nia fight Crux and Acronix and beat them. But Wu is lost in time. All the hoopla in this season, as they have mythical properties, and the ninja have to go on a quest to stop the sons of Garmadon from resurrecting Ronald McDonald. I'm joking, Garmadon. Little do the ninjas know, they bring the Quiet One, Harumi, with her everywhere, telling them their plans. And Garmadon gets resurrected and crushes the ninja, so now Lloyd alone has to fight Garmadon with Nia. Garmadon has taken over Ninjago, while Lloyd, with the help of the elemental masters from season 4, take over the airwaves, give people hope, and fight against Garmadon. And guess what? Lloyd defeats Garmadon through Garmadon's own teaching when he was good, saying the best way to fight against your opponent is to use your own powers against them. Season 10, now that Garmadon is gone, the Onis, come to Ninjago and take over. Cole, who was thought to be lost, barely manages to avoid petrification, which has happened to all of Ninjago. And, together with the help of Garmadon, they create the Tornado of Creation, which defeats the creatures of destruction. And Garmadon is confused as he is now helped to build and not destroy. Worst character, Sphera, wakes up from her tomb and deludes herself into calling Wu a treacherous deceiver, and is quickly defeated by the ninja, but not before she sends Zane to the Neville realm with the Forbidden Skull's Spinjitzu. Now the ninja travel to the 16th realm to rescue him, but where Zane is actually the Ice Emperor and has done tragic things for 40 years. Now, Lloyd encounters a better love interest than Harumi, called Red, or Akito, and together they stop Zane and make him remember who he used to be. Ninja transported into a game to fight Unagami, who now has Jay, and there's something special in this game as they lose all their powers and must get the 3 katanas through power-ups, kinda like Ready Player One. With the help of the mechanist, Unagami breaks free into the real world, but after talking with his master, he realizes that Unagami was just scared and shows loss, showing that everyone has feelings and that you shouldn't really ignore them. So it's an anticlimactic fight, but it's a really climactic, heart-touching moment. You receive an invitation to Shintaro for Princess Vanya's birthday, where Vanya is shown to have an interest in Cole, which seems to be more of a fan than anything else. The ninja find a dark secret as geckos and monsters are forced to mine Vengestone, the ninja's weakness. And guess who controls it? King Vangelis. So Vanya must go against her father and into the deepest part of the earth with Cole to come back and fight her father and free everyone, which they do with Cole awakening his mother's secret. Sokka and Wu go missing in the storm belt, and the ninja go to rescue them but end up getting captured themselves. Through Lloyd's quick thinking, they reveal a fake Wajira, and the ninja become friends with the island inhabitants. But later on, Wajira turns out to be real and gets awakened by Calamar, who dethrones his father the king and blames it on the ninja. All of Ninjago would have fallen if not for Dareth and Nia, I guess becoming one with the water and letting the cookie crumble. With the water amulet, Wajira is destroyed, but Nia is lost to the water forever. So Harumi's back, and she revives the Overlord as a Crystal King with the help of Aspera, Mr. F, the Mechanic, and Pythor. With the Overlord's Vengestone army, the ninja are powerless and useless, so now they must jump up, kick back, whip around and spin to save the day, as Lloyd finally defeats the Crystal King with the help of Harumi and Garmadon, as Harumi finds out that the Overlord was the one who created the Great Devourer. And everyone lives happily ever after till the merge. He is not happily ever after, as a time skip has occurred and the ninja lost to the wind. Lloyd by himself must train Aaron, who taught himself Spinjitzu, and Sora, who has awakened a new elemental power. And along the way they meet Kai and Nia, and later on Wildfire, another young elementalist. And together they fight against the Empire, who wants to use the dragons for their power. But the crazy Empress uses a power to open rifts and destabilizes the world, so now they must stop it. And to do that, Lloyd becomes a conduit of the Source Dragon and stabilizes the world. Lloyd is now the conduit. He's having visions of Raz completing the Blood Moon ritual and resurrecting the 5 Forbidden Ones. So to defeat them they must learn a technique called the Rising Dragon, which only Kai learns before, and he ends up getting sacrificed, but only one of them returned, or we think as one of them gets teleported into someone's body. So now the ninja must win a tournament of powers to find out who is killing the Matriarch and Patriarch dragons. Unluckily, it was actually the people who did Shadow Spin, and they bring out the other 4 Forbidden Ones. Luckily, Kai also manages to escape, and the 4 ones that just came back are not as powerful, so they must escape. But Aaron, feeling betrayed after learning the true reason why the merge happened, goes with Raj. So this was a transition period where there was a new studio, they were trying something new, so I can't really blame them for bad episodes, but this was atrocious, as it felt like they took the ninjas and stripped them of basically everything that made them themselves, and gave them a task which was kind of nonsense. Oh, I can't communicate to anyone. Well, too bad. Why didn't they think of a better solution? Zane was the only saving grace in this episode, but still it was really, really bad. I'm frustrated for this episodes for some reasons. One, the mayor is like a horrible person and I really dislike him. Second is, the ninjas know that elemental powers can be trained in so many ways, so why do they go to Aspera first? And not like the island where Chen was, where they used magic to drain the elemental powers? Something like that. Also, there is a bit of a positive. The ninjas are actually fugitives for good reason this time, unlike season 6, which I'll get into another time I guess. But another reason this is ranked so low is they literally reversed Nee's whole situation, which was really fun, instantly, and didn't give enough payoff, I feel. So unlike episodes from the new studios, here we got some from the old studios, being Double Trouble, where Garmadon has used his wish stick to make some new ninjas. And these episodes are bad for the reason that they made the ninjas their enemies, and then it was instantly reversed. At least in the other ones, like season 15, when the ninjas did become fugitives, there was actually some negative connotations that came with it. Here it's gone instantly. Now here's a very bad episode in my opinion for how bad Harumi's backstory was. They say that she was a tragedy and her parents were killed by the Great Devourer. Great. But her hatred to Lloyd, I feel like is a bit too strong and misdirected, as she wants to bring back Garmadon, who was kind of the whole reason everything started. Later on, she's on a team with Pythor, which is the one who actually released the Great Devourer. But you could say that Lloyd did actually release the snakes, which led to the Great Devourer coming out, so I get a bit of that like hatred, but why did she have a Green Ninja toy when she was younger, when the Green Ninja basically didn't even exist? Those people making merch must have been going crazy. Also, for Lloyd to only realize Harumi was bad after removing the mask, why? That's plot convenient. If he just left it there, Harumi could have done nothing. Also, the ninjas felt a bit useless until the end, which also I don't like. Fate being red is very dumb, bad concept, and this is what they did. Although it is later rectified, but that's for another time. Also, Wu should have known that the Traveler's Tea could have taken them to the kingdom, and they didn't have to go through this weird eye, as he already used that to get to Garmadon before. Also, Fenwick, how did none of the writers know that he was bad? How did no one know that he was contacting the ghost? And also, the sword, really cool. I really like how it can show the future. And it's very underutilized, I feel, but that's it. I feel like a problem that Ninjago really has is the lack of using Spinjitzu, as in this episode, very underutilized. Also, if the enemy found them through the temporal scans, why couldn't the ninja do the same to find them? Also, playing with the time blades really is at the time. I know they want to make them play and like have fun, but this is not the moment. The female snake commander stealing the blades, like really? That convenient? Surely they have like a better grip on it, or at least seen her coming. The only reason it's not ranked lower is because although there was a lot of cringe, it was actually very entertaining to watch. I'll give you a hint, here's a trend. I also don't like the first 2 episodes of season 11, as again, it feels like they regressed the ninjas to an unrecognizable point. Why was Jay harmed by the lightning chicken when it shows later on that lightning literally doesn't affect him? And also before, for that fact. It really sets like a bad tone because I really like what they did in season 11 to 14, but this just kind of ruins it. There was a lot of problems in this episode. One, the capability of the guards just feels really bad. Like surely they've trained so much that they can stop any threat that comes because they know people are going to escape. Also, why were they so antagonistic to the ninjas? At first they're like, oh, we love you, but then they're like, don't escape, don't resist, when they know they're good people. Also, why would you place the ninjas next to everyone who wants them dead and not use Vengestone to stop their powers? As surely they have some of that on hand. Also, Dareth being the lawyer is dumb, surely they can afford or people want to help them more. Another one, why did Harumi come and gloat to Lloyd about the plan, leading to all the problems and eventually the ninjas losing? Why did Harumi agree to free Pythor when he was the one who released the Great Devourer and caused the parents to die? The episode ranking is just a personal preference, as although they did well with Lloyd keeping his promise, it was a smart way to free Asphira. The mayor, I really hate the mayor, the new ninjas aren't bad, but Asphira herself with all her revenge lines, you'll see I really don't like them and they're kind of annoying. Also, the ninjas becoming criminals did not feel bad this time because they had a valid reason to open ninja and they felt good at the end. Yes, it's finally time for one of the 2 new seasons, and my problem is everything went wrong in here. Lloyd believing he is the one that needs to take care of the monastery and do everything by himself, pretty shitty. Raptor not being noticed by the others or even the dragons. How did that happen? The ninjas not realizing they had to pull the 3 levers, like idiots, there's 3 levers in front of you. Why did you need the 3 new people to pull it down? It's kind of cringe. The only positive is Wildfire though. I am biased as she's my favourite new character that was introduced. Plot convenience central is what I would like to call this, as before was shown that Lloyd is terrible with accents, so why would they throw him into the enemy's hole? Also, Among Us line, very funny. This episode has the second most plot convenience, which really drags it down, only beat by rank 143, which you'll find out later. Here's also another problem, the enemies being introduced as the strongest things and then becoming depowered while I don't feel like the ninjas got strong enough to defeat them. Like here the Stone Warriors, they suddenly got super weak. Zane was at his worst as he risked the mission for his falcon. Lloyd having to kick the bell was okay, they should have been captured so many times and that was so plot convenient. But overall it was a good episode as it showed everyone's struggles. Turning into kids is really not bad, it's a good idea, but there's some parts that don't gel with me really. Lloyd becoming older is something you could see coming, and the way they talked to the ferocious beast was horrible. As using light swords to defeat it, why didn't the monster just attack them instantly? Them turning older when Garmadon lost his witch staff. What happened to Lloyd? How is he still older when none of the events transpired that would have made them need to use it on him? Combined with Asphira being my least favorite character and her backstory, this episode is really low. She wanting revenge on Will makes no sense. Wu taught her spinjitzu, and then she used that to overthrow the king. It was her that actually betrayed him first. The first master of spinjitzu making the forbidden scrolls, why make them in the first place? Kai blaming Will, okay, I guess he's in the heat of the moment, which is something that could get a pass. But why both Harumi and Asphira's motivations so bad? Surely they could get like a better backstory. Also, Asphira finding the elevator and knowing how it functions is something that does not make sense. She wouldn't have been around when elevators were around. But it was fun looking into what Ninjago used to be when Will was a child. Again, people are way too distrusting of the ninjas. I guess Garmadon's wish stick went away, but it shows that all his wish stuff didn't go away, like the captains or Lloyd becoming older. So here, why do people go, oh, ninjas are the worst? How did Ronin capture them all? Why did the ninjas use spinjitzu against them? Guess what? The ninjas are in jail and you know what they used on them? Vengestone. So why didn't they use that later? How did he know the ninjas destroyed the cursed realm when no one was there to indicate it? I won't repeat the same points I made, same as season 11. Also, demeaning Nia into Delara, I felt just horrible and should not have. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of side stories if you came to guess that, and this one is side story central. They find the snake is distrusting. Later, Zane says, oh, I should have just followed what I trusted already. Bonsall, there was a highlight, as she could just walk out the lasers, push shields a spell, and screwed up the wizard guy. But finding the monastery, the exact same, was very interesting. Again, this is an episode which is totally personal preference. I didn't really like the Explorer Club's accents, and Sphira's revenge lines, really I don't like them. But something good is those consequences in the episode with Zane, and Lloyd getting to his top partner in my opinion. But other than that, the trend of season 11 being trash was still continued. This episode has positives and negatives. I really hate the fact that Nia's forced to marry the Jinn. Jay coincidentally not being able to wish the Jinn away, as something just kept on happening, horrible. And Cloud somehow being awake when no one nudged him, and almost stopping Jay from coming out. Like, why even include that? But positives is Jay's ragtag group that he assembled stopping the enemies with like unconventional tools. I just found the episode really cringe. Wildfire, amazing character. The pranked part, great. It showed she was growing. But one part I didn't like is there was a bit of an animation error, and So Umami being able to make a sphere instantly and tricking them, I found it like a bit too plot convenient. So the ninjas have made so many bridges before, including Zane, so why didn't Zane just use his ice powers to make a bridge? The lava wasn't coming that fast, and surely he could have done it. Kai being smacked everywhere was a total highlight. The plot convenient rescue is a bit iffy. Love Gale Gossip though, great character, but they did her so dirty by adding another character who's dumb and just puts people in like a bad light. So I think he definitely should have been left on the writer's room. But her guiding a spirit to the scroll, very fun. Remember how I didn't like how Nia was being demeaned by the Jin? Same happens to Jay, but the opposite way, which doesn't make it any better. Nia using Spinjitzu to defeat the Mun's Queen was very nice. Kai's whole part was great, as any decisions he made needed rocks thrown at him. And the little cheat with the snails that Zane did shows that, yes, he is willing to compromise. There's some tropes I really don't like, and here's one of them, which is Jay getting amnesia, and being a pretty bad character ever since. Also, Bonzel just being separated for one part to go bump into Jay then come back. What's the point? Because the administrators did nothing really. The fight was fine with or without her. Surely she could have even helped. Another wish stick by Garmadon. So this was like a picture perfect finish. They were racing. They do something like this later on, which is pretty good. But here I felt it was very lackluster. Though there was a fun scene where they were pumping gas between the two cars. But overall, yeah, it just didn't feel right. Finally, the ninjas are popular, but Nia is just demeaned out the wazoo by Dareth, and I don't know where this actually really came from. And Cole literally being a ghost, he could have flown to stop the enemy as they went to sign a kid's cast. That kid becoming more relevant later on, but surely they haven't gone, okay, we're not going to do missions anymore. And Cole, yeah, you can't leave because you're a ghost and you can fly through this wall to get there first. Not much happened, and that's why it's here, but generally a good episode. Ronin stealing the sword was great, and Nia's own attitudes being used against her, and showing that, yes, she is able to control water, but she's not very good at it. Also, Ronin escaping the ninjas is a bit of disbelief, as surely they've had countermeasures now to stop stuff like this. So Moro, smart of Win couldn't just fly into the hole himself without Ejitsu, or even the fact that he has a scroll and did probably learn Ejitsu, but he didn't use it, but the ninjas did. Kind of doesn't make sense. But the climb was very dramatic and fun, as it really felt like time was against them, only to be, ruined later on by travelers. This episode is really good, but it doesn't do everything I want. It's really good at setting up stakes, as it felt like, yes, they could fall into this bottom of the void, and I don't feel like it was a good episode in general. That was just one part of it. Very first episode, the one that kind of started it all. And why is it here in the bottom 50? Well, it was literally Lloyd. I really didn't like him in the beginning, and how did no one go like, oh, the snake tomb is here, when it was so obvious and easy? Yes, Harumi is done best. Around this point to later on, as you actually felt like she's evolved as a character, and her destruction is kind of deserved. I'm fine with the train being used to protect the ninjas, but they had 4 seasons just to say, hey, Jay loves train models. Like, why didn't they mention that before, or even just show him liking it? In season 9, Lloyd specifically didn't get angry when all the ninjas might have gotten killed. So why would this event bring out his only form? It makes no sense. Yeah, ninjas becoming evil, really don't like that. Even though Kai was pretending to be evil to betray Chen, still rubbed me the wrong way. Actually, in Shintaro, Wu said, ninja never quit and so masters shouldn't, something like that. And here, it's called quitting time, and that's Wu giving up. And why was it that the paper crew made him realize that ninja shouldn't quit? He should have known that all along. Also, Zane being the Ice Emperor, I hate Ice Emperor Zane because he only became that because of staff. So why is it when he gets hit, he suddenly devolves into this persona? I'll be quick with this one. And Garmadon uses his wish stick, on downside drains all his power, Pajama Men, as the pirates called them, and Dareth carried the episode. But why didn't the pirates disappear like in the next episode with the fake ninja? Happened again, the monastery got destroyed again. But you know what, this is actually generally a good betrayal. So Nia escaping at the last minute. Like, why do all the drama? I know it's a show, but also, Mini-Pig 7 being introduced. I love Mini-Pig 7, adorable and MVP of the whole series, I have to say. And what else? Well, why would Harumi say the Great Devourer took everything from her and be working with, I know, the Overlord, the embodiment of evil, who the Great Devourer is definitely related to, and Pythor, who released the Great Devourer. And Ninja gets saved. Woohoo! Sphera's ritual to resurrect the Crystal King was horrible. Like, revenge this, revenge that, like, ugh. Harumi got nothing, and I really like that Harumi got nothing, even though she did all the work. Yeah, this episode was like too many plot conveniences. The snakes raised this giant thing out of the ground. How did no one see it when it was so close to Ninjago City? How did Lloyd just get dropped by as they were boarding a bus? How is it that Lloyd got the maracas or whatever play to trick them and he gets on the bus? How did Nia get caught and kind of start fighting the ninjas? How is that the 4 elemental weapons touched each other but nothing happened, as was shown that when they do, boom. So it was a game changer, as the ninja did something they rarely ever do. Be ninjas. Also, Nia dressing up as Lloyd and pretending to sneak in to divert attention. Great plan. And all the ninjas get cool vehicles, but Kai just gets a headband, which comes in handy later. Oh my god, I just love that. Talking about Sphera and how they escaped her temple as the lava was rising. The same thing happens here. The ninjas are stuck on the island, and guess what? They make a raft to get off, and then the rescue comes. Which I feel like why even do everything in the first place? It just wasted a bunch of time. Got Jay on the ship, and everything's against him, but somehow, some way, he sends a message to everyone. I love that, even though they did find the bottle, which the ocean, how are you going to find that when it's so large? But I'll give them leeway. If Lloyd can become Oni, Garmadon can become Oni, why doesn't Wu try it all? Also, why is the eject function always broken on all vehicles? Like in season 14, Jay almost died from the eject function not working, so surely they managed to fix it now. But it introduces the Crystal Warriors, and making Crystal Zombies really showing the threat that so there's some characters I just really don't like for one reason or another. Like the mayor because I just hate him, Sphera because she says revenge, 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 which I hate. And here's another one, Gondola. Like great character, but I can't handle that nasally tone she talks in. It just really irks me for some reason. Also, the people from the Realm of Madness needing the forms in triplet, so funny. Bonzo bumping into Jay was something we just don't need. It was just like spraying them for no reason. And the witch firing onions, like also extremely unfunny. So I really just didn't like it. It's literally written so well in this chapter or episode, as he's defeated his like, this is all my fault, because that's the kind of person he is. So it takes one kid to remind him, no, you are a good ninja, you are a good person, and you will fight. Also, Sphera using Gale Gossip to get to the scroll and then not finding it because it's in another exhibition. Great. Also, I find it funny that the treacherous deceiver is Wu. Again, the backstabbing story is shite. Serpentine attacking the ninja makes sense, as they always bring problems. I kind of love how in season 17 you have actual ninja fans, like Frak or even Aaron. And this just like had so many more layers to how much of an impact the ninjas have had on the world. Also, Kai Bonzo running from the 5 is very funky. Near missing Jay, so sweet. You instantly find out that the game is rigged against the ninja, which I like, so from the get-go, the ninjas have to find out how to win while being rigged. The worst part of the episode is Jay Nia's interaction with Jay acting horrible to Nia, because even before he was enamored by her instantly, and suddenly he just hates her. I like this episode, but I don't like it for the same time. Great Devourer kind of just eats sand to get bigger, but then again, does have to eat things of creation to actually get bigger, like actual buildings, things that were created, and not just sand. Also, why did the Great Devourer turn its head to get stabbed by Garmadon if it wasn't the Overlord's plan for it to be destroyed, so that its goo or whatever would create living beings, which would be the Stone Soldiers? Also, Wu should not have been unharmed after he got the snake. That's just a bit of like error right there, but everything else, great. So in season 4, Jay was shown to think positively when in a bad situation, but now it's super negative, and I'm like, what happened to Jay? Did he just like instantly lose his positive thinking? Also, Rex's ship returning was at great stakes, as now, guess what? You got this person called Cole, and if Cole touches the water, he dies, so they can only go forward. The first trial, super easy. They could just like open all the doors, or was it like you opened the door and then you instantly got sucked into the dimension? The second trial falling, like why? Anyone would fall or even try look down, because there was no solution otherwise. The third trial is probably the dumbest, as okay, you can't get around, and if you look down you see, oh, there's something shiny there, maybe I should go there and find something. And how did Moro not realize he was being trapped when he had the sword in his hand and could see the future? Like, I don't know. I would like to rename Aaron's spin jutsu on objects. I'd like to call it plot convenient spin, as it only spins when it's plot convenient. Like now, when he throws it, coincidentally breaking the engine, leading to Lloyd teaching people how to fight. This monster, I did find very fun that the monster was being controlled. Nope, it was actually the opposite way around. The monster was controlling the people and making the Serpentine fight the inhabitants, which I thought was a great thought. The ninja fighting, guess what? Another giant crab. And you will not guess what, but it starts with a giant crab. Maybe I said that too many times, but who cares? This episode is very neutral. It's a transition period for Harumi doing her thing, to resurrect Garmadon, and the ninjas came back to Ninjago and sneaking in to stop the ceremony. I didn't like the witch's voice. I also really like the scratchy voice of the Overlord. It just also irks me. Garmadon talking to Lloyd's mom is a great scene, as it humanizes Garmadon and shows he doesn't really want to do this. Why the warriors, the stone warriors who are unthinking, loyal, don't competent as well? They just want competent soldiers like in season 15. Oh, spoilers. Love how their goal was unachievable, thinking they needed to put the hat back on the stand, but it was stupid, because guess what? Putting the hat back on the stand did nothing, and it didn't stop the doomsday clock. But it was a very smart plan. Something bad happens, it seems like it's always happening to Zane, but here I think they did it well, as Zane was speaking gibberish, and yes, he didn't write down stuff, but Nia learned how to communicate and learn what Zane is saying. Master Wu is at his worst, as he pretends to be demented, instead of telling the ninjas vital information about their enemies. They showed people's reliance on technology, as although people were next to each other, they just like broke apart, showing, hey, you should have some independence. Also, love how Dareth cares so much about his fake trophies that he broke Ronin's leg. It's a great episode for Lloyd to learn humility, and that the ninjas should stay together. Zane's random lines, also great, like the treadmill was invented in 1818. By this point, I'm so over Zane just getting disabled literally every season. He's speaking gibberish in the last one, or in season 6 when he makes 3 wishes. What else? Well, staying above the clouds makes sense, as even though they can't be found out by the Quiet One, even though it's just there, so honestly it doesn't even matter, but to them, pretty good. Sneaking a bug into Zane, genius move because who would check him? Mentioning Wojira, like finally they're setting up stuff for later seasons, even though they had no idea they were. The only bad part was Pixel's reveal, being Samurai X, like it wasn't even that crazy. I'll skip over Kai and Wildfire's part because honestly it's nowhere near as good as Lloyd's and Aaron's. As the snails, I believe, are the most despicable, the craziest, the most terrifying species on all Ninjago now, as they say, okay, you made a crime, you're going to walk through the stop path, so not only will you die, but you'll also go through a painful time. And I just love them for that. Again, I'm not really a fan of the characterization of the ninjas here, but it was done better than a lot of other places, as it showed, yes, they are still kids, they're still self-centered, and they can't train Lloyd themselves yet, because they need to grow. Also, the leader of the 17 deciding to kidnap Lloyd was also a good move, because it connected to Garmadon and whatnot. But I do feel like they depowered the Serpentine leaders, because it was so strong when we first met them, and I don't feel like the ninjas have gone to a point where it has changed. Also, Jay almost getting run over was super funny, for reasons that I will not go into, and Garmadon fusing the weapons into a mega weapon, like it actually made such good stakes if it resulted in like net nothing, and its powers are really confusing as they brought back Soto, but how come he still saved when the weapon never got created? Ninja gets captured. Kai of course is very over, like he wants to do stuff really fast without thinking, so they get into a worse situation. Lloyd tries to save them, then Garmadon does with skeletons. It's a fun fight, and it made sense that they stayed because the snakes were getting fed up, that they can't be themselves and just have to follow these other Serpentine leaders. I'll be honest, Shintaro was like really disappointing to look at. I was like, oh my god, it's going to look so cool. No. The ivory, what animals have they killed to make that giant town? But some fun stuff. Cole found out instantly that this was his season, though he didn't really know that. Also, Cole rushing alone to danger wanting to save others, so like him. Also, the Venge Stone. The Venge Stone was amazing as it actually had stakes, as now the ninjas have to rely on Spinjitzu and their own abilities rather than their powers. Remember how I said there's some characters that I just don't like? This is one of them, Hound Dog McBragg. Something just about him, well, I know what it is about him, so personal preference made this episode as low as it is. Fugidove is a highlight as always, his talking with Jay's competitive spirit, also his looks, also the mares in this episode, which brings it down. The commissioner basically refusing to pursue the ninjas is great, as it shows that the commissioner still likes the ninjas. Also, so dumb with the car breaking and them splitting up, fudge. Also, Sally was a great addition, as I really liked her songs and I really liked her personality. It was pretty fun. Well, I know what happened to Clutch, but suddenly forgot all his survival guide and he just brings his tanning bed. Also, the Explorers Club, same as before, insufferable. I just can't stand the accents. Them employing Twitch is also violating his human rights, as they're using his disability against him. The blue sand was pretty fun. It showed something's off, something's different. The random dragon was fine and added some fun Lloyd complexity, as he used the dragons wanting to play for his own benefit. The inhabitants' funny nature is great, as telling them, hey, why are you here? Because we have this amulet. Oh, you saw the amulet? Well, too bad, you're going to be locked away forever. And with Jura actually existing sets up some great drama for later on. I can really see what kind of people took over the Ninjago series, as each season has involved royalty in some way or form. And here, we also have royalty, with Vangelis being evil instead of the princess, or the Serpentine Queen, Asphira. Cole being saved by the princess just shows what kind of person she is. As she is flawed, she is sheltered, but she also wants more out of life. The Diebats coming shows that no, they're not a one-off, but they actually are pivotal in a way to the plot progression. After talking to the king, Cole, Will and the princess fell through the trapdoor, which I think is great, as it shows that Vangelis has a fun personality, that he just doesn't stand for anything against him. Well, partly because he's always sitting or flying, so he's not really standing. And the fall was also quite fun, as you got to know who Vanya was, and just develop as a character. I swear Lloyd is the best when he's young. He literally said in my treehouse, no girls, no ninjas allowed, which I think is so funny, because it's just like a kid. Also, Lloyd getting betrayed by Scales actually adds tension, as I don't know how Lloyd managed to hypnotize the other one. Surely they have defenses against that. Also, Cole being hypnotized makes no sense. He was so close to the cure from the Hypnobride before, so why is he hypnotized? Also, Zane finding the ship is amazing because that ship is pivotal literally for the rest of the plot of every season, basically. Magpies are one of my favorite kinds of serpentine, and I don't know how to feel that they can easily be counteracted through just increased heart rate. So if someone's afraid of them, do they become useless then? I feel like watching the whole season already, I know so much about Harumi, but you can really see here that her true intentions are being shown. Going to Mizake for the truth tea and then Cole mixing it up, like, that part was very bad. Then using Misake to learn about the law, very fun. Cole singing, which is pretty bad, and Zane intentionally putting on the worst song, I think is funny. Because Cole's singing in this point was pretty bad and I didn't like it, but as it went on throughout the season, I just loved it more and more. Also, Zane knowing the ninja would follow Mr. E and Zane using that to join them is actually very smart and ninja-like. You know what this title tells me? This title tells me that this episode is fake. The Last Jin, what is season 6? I saying somehow that lamp got destroyed and now no one can touch him and he's dead? Or was he just lost in the rift and now he's gone fully erased from existence? Which one is it? Him being lonely in the cave is fun. Also, seeing Kilo's puzzle makes me think that Kilo started up a puzzle business or a games business, and it's just so good. And it raises him, Kilo, in my rankings of characters. Speaking of Jins, we got another one. Love how Cliff Gordon, Jay's dead dad, had so much impact on the story. From the ninjas mistreating Jay to getting the boat to travel in the first place. And also, they went to watch a Cliff Gordon movie when they were having that love triangle, which was bad, but it just shows how connected he is to the plot. Also, Zane's clever way to defeat the Jin was counteracted and beaten, which just shows that Jin is smart, but also Zane, just don't wish for anything and you'd be fine, or like, wish him gone. Why couldn't you think of that? It is funny that the Jin emptied the bottle and didn't even realize it was water. I'd say plot convenient, but I think he was just so up himself that he didn't even pay attention. Also, capturing Jay was a great added risk for the ninjas, as it showed, hey, we need to now go and rescue him, giving them motivation. Another fruitless sacrifice as they stopped Zane from filling up the batteries before, and guess what? Now that he's in water surrounded by it, where if he electrocutes the batteries, he electrocutes himself, he does it and is fine, meaning the whole point of Nia and her mum going into the temple, pointless, and they could have solved it instantly. It was just a plot device for Kalma to learn about the Storm Amulet. Also, the king being cooed in front of them was very fun, as it just continues the plot of royalty being involved somehow, and this time it's the prince betraying the king. After this event, I do not believe the golden power in the weapons is as powerful as it used to be, because literally the ninjas in season 10 touched the armor and he was fine, meaning something must have happened that it doesn't have the same effects anymore. Also, love triangle, horrible. Wanting to fly to the planet, great. High Thor being so involved with the Overlord explains why he's used in season 15. Also, Kai being overconfident is classic Kai and ending up being captured. And yeah, that's it. Here everything's crumbled around Beatrix and she's going wild, and I believe she is a lot like the Iron Baron, as they're both kind of dictators who control the people through fear. But they're both so good characters, making me think that gender really doesn't matter. Also, Sora's message being so effective must mean that like a lot of people did not like the Empress to begin with. Kai and Wildfire burning down the wrong building just shows like who they are as people and who the guards are, because they care so much about those shoulder pads. Beatrix also having the power to open the rifts, and her being the reason why rifts are opening up everywhere is a really great touch, as it adds risk. It makes her an actual threat. Lloyd and Garmadon being together, and Lloyd learning from Garmadon that fighting is not always a way, and sometimes use your enemy's power against them is great, because in season 9 that's exactly how Lloyd wins against Garmadon. Also, the cringeness between Cole, Jay and Nia still continues as they're almost getting crushed, and then Nia's cuts both wires, just like, guess what, the movie magic actually came in handy, as it made fake ships to blend in. And the riders being like the worst people is also really funny, because you saw them in prison before, or was it after? Why did the ninja have to make such bad wishes? Cole's vengeance one was great, as it reversed the problem, but everyone else's was terrible and led to Jay and Nia remaining, and the other two getting captured, which is just like, it sucks. But I did like how their dragons combined, setting up the Hands of Time, where Kai and Nia combined the dragons. Look, I think Clarence's wish was a bit too convenient, as Jay and Nia had to be near something reflective, and like, what are the odds of that they were at a plant that the Jinn could identify as? But Jay and Nia going to the prison, I love that. Meeting the new Zane, very fun. But did the guy, the creator, literally just ditch two of his creations? Also, getting rid of the enemy by sending them to the Tiger Venom Spider was great, but does that mean they were thinking of the Tiger Venom Spider when they did drop the water, or what? Also, Nia sacrificing herself for Jay, just so sweet, as he has a last wish, and Oh, fuck, I just love that part. Finally, this was one of my favorite episodes until it got retconned. Harumi dying was great, her saving the family, not redeeming her, and also, like, of course this was going to happen. What are the odds Garmadon was going to be like, yeah, we're not going to destroy and kill people, I'm so good now? No, you literally brought all the badness and none of the good. Skylar using Garmadon's power against him was great. Rescuing Faith is so like Lloyd, and also it just shows what kind of person Iron Baron is, and that his minions are a bit unsure about what they're doing. So what would have happened if they stayed in the blimp is my real question, because you saw the bottom only opened where the people were standing, but they could easily walk into the cockpit. So why didn't they do that? Chen using his gifts to capture the remaining ninjas, or I should say contestants, was great. Dareth coming in and ruining their escape. Classic Dareth. The history behind Garmadon and Klaus was great, as Klaus was always like number 2 and now we get why. Genuinely the last episodes are pretty good, and here is the first one which kind of shows it. This episode makes the least sense. These warriors, Serpentine, are meant to be the strongest, but somehow the common people of Ninjago are beating them up. When the snakes can get through, they don't attack the people from the side. Normal material can stop the sharpest blades. If not for Garmadon sacrificing himself or Pythor saving the day because he was annoyed that the people were pretending to be Serpentine, what was the point of this dramatic fight? Jay becoming a snake was very fun, and also Will escaping was also quite fun, but I don't get why Garmadon couldn't have escaped by himself. It did not seem that hard, but finding out that there's more than one way to cure yourself of the snake's like powers was very fun. This episode is great, but the implications not so much. So here they went back in time and revisited the first pilot, but at like a different angle, and Kai now had to make sure his sister got kidnapped. As I said before, Ouroboros, this episode leads to the golden weapons being shot into space, and meaning Garmadon never made his mega weapon, so why is Soto alive? I just don't get that. I do quite enjoy how they're saying, no, what we saw the ninjas wasn't everything, and they actually did do events that we didn't see. All this episode could have happened when the mega weapon didn't exist and they just trained, and then some event happened that made Lloyd have to take the potion himself, and we just have no clue what it is, as Lloyd has to find the calm inside in a flashback that we've never seen. It was great that all 3 plot points also came together as the monastery came up and Kai, Nia and Zane all came to save Lloyd. All I have to say is get over it. It was a letter, it was so long ago. Why does it really matter? Well, you're meant to be calm and sensible, but you're not here. Like, Sanders, why was his disguise so bad? His accent, horrible. Zane slowing down his video to find out Sanders was the villain is great. Kai finding out Sanders was the villain was dumb. Like, has he never caught his moustache on anything before and no one realized? Also, Sanders keeping Cyrus in the sarcophagus, like, why not hide him in the secret room so no one could find it? So I've included the mini-series and season 14 as one, meaning this is episode 5 and 6, where officially it's episode 1. But who cares? Nia losing control of her power thanks to Ajira, great touch. Kai being a mama's boy, I'm very neutral on. Nia being a slub, still consistent as when you saw her in season 1. Also, the mum's presence is an interesting challenge to Nia, as she's very independent and had to grow up being independent, but now the mum is here and she wants to form a connection. Also, there being a water mission and Nia not being invited just shows how much people think the water is affecting her. But oh my god, we meet Miss Demeanor here, and I freaking love Miss Demeanor. She's just a small town girl that wants to live it big fighting the ninja. Episode's great for 2 reasons. One, you learn that Garmadon is now good and he doesn't want to fight. The Technoblades actually being powerful against the technology, mainly Pixel and curing her. Great, but it doesn't work on the Ninjroids because guess what? The Ninjroids were only made after by the Overlord, so they're coded to be evil. And them actually having cloaking abilities. Like, why does that really disappear and not come up later? So this is a big growing moment for Kai, as Kai realizes that he's not going to be the Green Ninja and it's Lloyd. But the way he gets there through almost sacrificing Lloyd's life for the Fang Blade and somehow ends up in Pythor, but who really cares? And it just shows that Kai is growing as a person. Although I am a Harumi hater, I loved Harumi in these episodes. Her tying up Lloyd's arm with a sling, nice touch, just shows, oh look, I care for you. Her screaming at every little thing, no, not really. She's trying a bit too hard. The ninja finding out at the end that Harumi is a quiet one is also great, as they generally feel betrayed. You know what, I might have been a Harumi hater, then I liked the last one, and here I'm a Sphira hater, but I like a Sphira here. And she said, no, I sent Zane to another realm and you're never going to see him again. And then you got the ninjas trying to save him and going like, no, we will go and not you. But what else is great? Well, I don't know, except you meet Lloyd's number 1 love interest in my mind, Akita or Red, and Zane is obviously the Ice Emperor. Also called losing the tea was the best thing that could ever happen, as it made him go on the journey to find the Traveler's Tea, which actually worked. So you know how you say people are like, so I think Lloyd is becoming more like Will, as Wu sees visions that's going to be pretty bad for everyone, so he decides to sacrifice himself, like Lloyd in season 17, where the visions become overpowering and just listens to them and not his common sense. A great scene is when Python thinks the Devourer is a statue, but then it's underneath them and Wu just holds him down like, no, you've done bad things, you're going to suffer the consequences. And also, Python is actually a great character here, as he tricks the ninjas, steals the blades, and it's a race to the temple where the villain is actually losing and they need this to win. Why are the ninjas making themselves like weaker sometimes? Here, wolves come against them, they can use spin jutsu to easily defeat these wolves. The introduction of Grimpack shows that Zane's power is either not infinite, or either it is still some good in him that doesn't want Vex to control him basically. Funny enough, this episode introduces a way to suppress elemental powers being corrupted ice. So does that mean that each elemental power has the ability to suppress others? I seem to remember this title before, joking, but Lloyd did do this in season 4 where he made a line in the sand. Jay, realizing that his parents could be targeted, was great, but why didn't he call ahead to his parents to tell the ninjas he was right next to? Like, do something. Edna being kidnapped, also great stakes for Zane to actually follow and do something. The use of the time bubble was confusing and acts on a whim of the animators and the writers. As the enemy's vehicles, when one wheel got out, it didn't instantly speed the vehicle like it did to Jay before. And also it seemed like the vehicles of the enemy stopped exactly in the time bubble when they were moving fast. But before, that never happened to Jay. So what's going on there? Yeah, underpowered again, and Lloyd gets rescued by Harumi. They go give people fruits and stuff. Samurai X is fun as always. The only good part is Mr. E, as he has never been defeated by the ninja but suffered a fate worse than death by Garmadon. Or he's a robot, so he didn't really suffer any fate. Harumi being devastated by the death of her parents is so fake, and she's the worst person and villainess in the series. A positive of this episode is ultra-violent, and she's a great villain, crazy, and I love her. The threat of the Oni mask shows that yes, it is quite powerful, and it can suppress the ninjas, so even if they are stronger, it overpowers them. The threat of the Androchondri is shown here as Pythor is by himself, and he is hungry because they ate everyone. Lloyd's ability to escape the Hypno-Brian Fang Pyre is a bit too plot convenient. How does he keep doing this? Or except if it's fate that he has to fight his father so he can't die. Love how Wu reads Lloyd a bedtime story and just makes everything better, as Lloyd now knows not to trust a snake. Spoilers, but rank 60 is the episode before this one, and it feels like Garmadon's doing the wrong thing. Why go threaten this little village and not Ninjago City? I like how all but Kai is willing to lose their power, since he already loses, well, yeah, he loses it later on, so it's a fun subversion of that. Also, them fighting Garmadon and actually feeling like a genuine threat is like nothing that's ever happened, as I feel like the ninjas could actually lose, which they do. The ninja using the tea leaves to escape, but looks like they got crushed, and guess what? Unlike they did later in season 15, Lloyd didn't turn into an Oni. He was like, no, I'm not going to give up, because I do not give up. And I don't know why they changed that in season 15. I find it funny that the Serpentine have one thing they always do, which is get trapped. But luckily some of them can dig, so it's not like they're going to be trapped for long. Funny how the Helmet of Shadow just fits Garmadon perfectly, and he can control these stone statues. It's just fudge. It's so funny, because these stone warriors actually are threatening until they're not, because they become depowered as the season goes on, so the ninjas can easily defeat them. The Stone Warriors are introduced as being so strong through their leader though, which is nice. I really miss Menace Lloyd, as when he was young he was so fun. The can of worms is just him pranking everyone, Zane becoming the pink ninja, which is one of my favourite Zane moments, as he just blends into the background. His spin jutsu changes colour because of what he's wearing, showing there's a correlation between that, showing that everyone doesn't want to work together is a great touch, as they are 5 different Serpentine clans and need to learn how to work together, which is what the leaders are trying to do. Cole's love of cake is shown in this episode, as Lloyd fills the fridge with snakes. Comedy gold, as Cole's relationship with Cake goes all the way to the end. Some would say it's blasphemous to put this episode this low ranking, as this is some people's favourite, as Zane discovers he's a robot, but one of the reasons it is ranked this low is because he only discovers it for one part. There's a whole part of him getting there, which is just running, and also them fighting the tree horns, which was an okay fight scene but not amazing like other ones. Digiverse is really good, because it literally flips a ninja's own abilities against them, but it also shows that you have to imagine to win, which is very unlike the later season where they go into Prime Empire, because here anything they imagine can become reality, but there you have to work to gain what you've lost, as they lose all their abilities. This episode sets up a lot of good points, one being my favourite character Wildfire, one of my favourite groups, the ITPF, who want to be loyal citizens to the Empire but then discover everything they've done wrong and rebel. Also Sora finishing her light tech, which becomes a real unstoppable enemy later on. A great finale, as you have a triangle, but this is the fight triangle. Zane wants to destroy both Akita and Lloyd. Lloyd wants to protect Zane but also wants to help Akita, and Akita wants to destroy Zane. I would harken this to Arcane, where it's between Vi, Caitlyn and Jinx, as it really gives me that feel. Zane remembering the words, "I will protect those who cannot protect themselves," to free himself is great, but he's committed 50 years of atrocities. The best part is Akita kissing Lloyd on the cheek at the end, knowing yes, she is a potential love interest and way better than Harumi, plus they both have the ability to transform as Onis. Town gets devastated, cannot be instantly reversed. I love it. Kaiju Protocol, not really my thing. I can get it for other people if they enjoy it, but the preeminent coming through just really decreases its threat, as if it could be defeated this easily, did they really need that big massive pond? Talking about the preeminent, I think they did her super dirty here, as the only bad part is Lloyd not being captured in the preeminent and walking free. Like, why didn't they trap him like Chen or Cloud? The other bad part was the preeminent walking over the water, knowing it was their weakness, just let them get away, they can't do anything to you. Mara basically killing himself was great, as he did not want to be saved, so guess what, he disappeared with the preeminent. The way you know he is dead is because there was a new elemental master win later on in the Sky Kingdom. This is a quite different take on Digiverse than the other one, as actually limited and they need to gain skills to do better. Jay being the first one to enter is very fun, as people seem to idolize Jay in the game. Also, Dai's Island is great, as it shows you what kind of person he was and what kind of person he is now from when he walked away. Also, guard dogs, great. It also is a great way to introduce the fake enemy, being Daya, which they think it is, but in fact it's actually Unagami. Yes, Jay uses makeup, although Dareth doesn't say it is, it's still makeup, and I just love how they're skilled at it. Skylar being the traitor, amazing, as she can literally use her powers to copy anyone's, which comes into play later when, guess what, Chen needs all these powers and Skylar's right there and he can use her powers. Rant time. The ninjas do what I usually hate, which is take on roles not feeling the status, but here it actually makes sense. Zane turns off his emotion meter so he won't feel pain. Cole doesn't separate from people because he likes community. Kai, who somehow lost his skills even though he was training kids to fight. And Lloyd is the worst one of all. He becomes a window washer, like why? And Jay, I do love how Jay imprisons himself basically on the prison, because this is where he and Nia had that pivotal moment together and he feels like Nia could come back, but I wish he just grew that beard naturally and he had to shave it off, not just rip it off. To me, this episode is controversial in a way, as it feels like Nia's sacrifice, although it took a long time because of the episodes coming out, was kind of pointless that they instantly reversed it. And going back to the lighthouse after Jay left is also a bit convenient. Plot points come together as, guess what, Pixel Samurai X, but no one knows. Great reference that the Vermilion Warriors are the progeny of the Great Devourer. Kai's father making the helmets, showing that yes, Chen was correct, his parents were traders. The lack of modern equipment that Crocs has is really fun, as it shows him and his brother, one loves the modern technology, one doesn't. Skylar was the best person for Kai to talk to, as guess what, she had an evil father, so it helped her through, whatever it was. I honestly don't know how this episode is ranked so high, as it introduces a royal family, which is horrible, as it was never hinted at or talked about before, but spawned in. I'm joking. The beginning where they got the mask was a great scene, and Harumi's setup. Where did Kai's fear of large bodies of water go as he just jumps in with his sister? Why would Cyrus make such a long password? Just make it one digit or just a button. Easy. In my opinion, Kai and Nia should never have helped, as they endangered the whole world for just two people. I seem to remember with Moro that they had to climb up this giant mountain, and here they're climbing up another giant mountain or a cliff. The merchant was great, as it costs nothing to buy the hook, but to buy the actual rope it costs so much, basically 8 arms and 9 legs. Unagami cheating was great as well, as ninjas actually had a challenge to climb rather than a boring travel up, I guess. Not only the ninja but also Akino had the challenge, as Unagami promised him everything he could have ever wanted from the moment he found out that he was fake. The reverse scale was so obvious, but I loved how Akino defied Unagami and did the right thing. Instead of absolute power, I call this absolute betrayal. Beatrix betrayed her family, Raptor betrayed his identity, and the girl's name I forgot betrayed her mentor, all for different reasons to convey a single meaning, achieving something that will benefit themselves and not others. Beatrix's alliance on the magician shows that she's not confident in her position, as she replaced Raptor and now she needs someone else to fill in his position. The Moro episode again is great start, as he is stronger than the ninjas, takes over Lloyd's body, puts the ninjas in a bad position. And his powers over the windmill and wind in general, amazing. Revealing his Wu's discipline, stopping the ship from leaving, everything was going for him, so why does he become so weak later on? Chen's introduction is great, as everyone gets exactly what they want except Cole. Cole gets the rock bed, but he does get some treats, which love Cole for that. All the elemental masters versing each other, you really get an idea of who they are and what they do. Jay getting walked into by the elemental master of Dead, because he's gone and replaced by Snail later on, and he has like no significance. Seeing Carlos's power also shows the danger that being in the tournament it will bring. So there's a weird part in the beginning where they did rock, paper, scissors. But of course they don't have hands, which you know of, which I'll get to later on. But basically they defeat this giant stone warrior with paper, which I found was very fun. Meeting Lloyd's mother actually was good because she gave a good reason of why she was never in Lloyd's life, which was to find a cure for Garmadon. Also reveal the Dark Island was so sick. as it shows like a really fun part of Ninjago that you never knew about. What? The ninjas didn't become depowered after completing something? Never. Well, you might be surprised, but this is exactly what happened. Also, they learned a super cool art called Soup Jitsu, which becomes revolutionary, trust me. And climbing to the tournament was also great, as it showed the ninjas can still fight, and they're pretty strong. Although they introduced Roll's Eyes, TikTok, basically, a new character, or should I say, an old character comes back, Fujidub. I love that bad guy. It's great to see that it's still the same and stuck in a tree. Lloyd's dreams of the future really give a reason why he has visions, as now you can kind of get why Wu had, meaning he must have come into contact with a bit of source energy when he was younger, or sometime when he met the ninjas, giving him the ability to peer into the future. Raj struggling to read the old scrolls is great, as it shows that it struggles for the villain to learn how to complete the ritual, meaning the heroes actually have time. Introduction of the visions also show Lloyd having crippling fear and him being overcome by it, like Wu with Pythor. The new Smoke Master shows that some Elemental Masters have died. Finally, I feel like the Cloud Kingdom is getting good. Raz taking over it because he needs them to translate the scroll. Great. The new Smoke Master learning Shadow Spin instantly from a mask shows the power of these wolf masks and giving the ninjas an actual reason to grow, as learning Rising Dragon is a direct counter to Shadow Spin, but I feel like that might be its like one redeeming quality, and I don't think it's that good past that. Frasier not landing the monastery is also good because she doesn't know where it is, and it makes more sense. Episodes right, Jay is a gift, and Ronin using the prisoners was set up in the former episode, which shows the evolution of the ninjas, where they aren't afraid of multi-episode setups. The ease that the ninjas dealt with the prisoners shows, yes, the ninjas are strong, and these prisoners are weak. The only weird part is shaky smash into Ronin. I'm like, why would he do that, and how did he get there? I thought Garmadon was supposed to be all evil, and only his bad parts came, so why does he still like Harumi? Or maybe he didn't lose it all, hint hint nudge nudge. Dragon Hunters deciding to go against Iron Baron is great, as it's just like the people going against Beatrix later on. Wu showing that the armor isn't what controlled the dragon, but actually being a good person. The episode shows that a person is judged by their true nature and not what they want to be. All I'll say is, Dareth wants those puffy pop stickers and he'll do anything to get them back. Sigh. Why do they give the ninjas the worst roles here? All teachers, like, they don't even have qualifications. The good part is, their skills didn't diminish, which is great. The Techno Blades are super cool as it takes over the machines and makes new mechs. But why does it set up a love triangle between Cole, Jay, and Nia? Because what I've seen, I think Cole's first love is Cake, and that's it. And let me tell you this, if I stood on that, my love would be Fujidub. In these episodes, I would like to say that from season 11 to season 15 was a self-contained seasons, because you don't need the people from season 10 to 1, as they aren't really important to the ninjas achieving their dragon forms. Also, why did the Overlord have to reveal that he was the one who revived the Great Devourer? Because that turned Harumi against him. Or was that his plan, because he doesn't want anyone next to him? Also, the final episode where the ninjas did have to trust Lloyd so Lloyd could become the dragon was great, as it showed the bond between all of them. But here's this. I believe that the person who created the Overlord is Raz's god, or like who's guiding him. The episode's so realistic, everyone loses their technology and just goes wild and reenacts like barbarian movies. Also, Dareth again is shown to be the MPV as he saves the kids from a shark, and probably would have died, the sharks, because there was no water remaining. So if the Dragon Patriarch didn't introduce the tournament to the ninjas, would they never have been caught, and would the Forbidden Five be able to complete the ritual because they would have had a lot less elemental powers? The finale here was way better than season 15's finale fighting the Overlord. As the ninja was stranded, I could feel like the drama. Also, the ninjas being picked off one by one and then not all making it to the end felt like Lloyd really needed to win. Confronting the Overlord, he was freaking scary as the giant dragon circled him, making everything dark. Finally, Dr. Julian's introduced. Great guy, super funny. Sad he dies like before the next season. But if there's the starfish that eat the metal and Zane jumping in and finding the starfish right next to the metal, why is it that none of them have ever gone to the metal and eaten through it? That's just a plot hole right there. This episode is horribly predictable, plot convenient, and really didn't need to happen. Jacob just charged the batteries and nothing bad would have happened. Nia's mum sneaking on the boat, very fun as it gives the excuse for Nia and the mum to get closer. The introduction of Calamar was great as he's actually menacing and his fighting ability is way above all the ninjas, which also makes him actually threatening. He is a threat to the ninjas. You really see a difference between Cole and the other ninjas as Cole instantly recognized that Crag was by himself, where Jay and Nia thought this was a big monster den. Also, Cole becoming friends with Crag makes sense as Crag and Cole perfect matches. Crag is a loner and Cole becomes friends with misfits. Confirmed, Wildfire is Superman. This episode was a finally moment as we finally met the other ninjas. It was quite fun, not as like whoop whoop as I would have thought, but pretty fun. Also, Aaron and Sora jumping down is reminiscent of the old ninjas and how they acted before thinking. And Lloyd saying, hey, don't do that, shows he's grown as a person. And there's a version here, as you always thought that Garmadon would have to fight Lloyd, but they were both apprehensive, but now that the Overlord has taken over Garmadon, it gives a good reason for them to fight. Also, the fight on the beach between Lloyd and the Overlord was amazing, as you really feel the tension of Lloyd not wanting to fight and Garmadon trying to break through, but the Overlord was too powerful. Out of all the attacks on Ninjago City, this was the best, as it actually felt like it damaged the city as a giant tsunami, going to kill so many people. Also, it was an actual threat as it changed the terrain the ninjas need to fight on, because usually they turn into zombies and then they get unzombified. Dareth having his moment when there was trouble and he immediately jumped in as the leader shows that Dareth is not a bystander. People not knowing about the Proud Ninja, like, I don't know how to feel about that joke, because Dareth should be memorable, because he is one of the best. Here the faulty eject system strikes again and Jay can't get out, like they really need to fix that. Calamar is shown to be an actual threat as well with his combat ability. A bunch of fights happen, I literally don't care about them, the only one that matters is Cole vs Jay as they finally get over that stupid love rivalry, and Cole sacrifices himself for Jay, which is very sweet. And well, I guess we find out that Pixel is deconstructed and Zane may have his infinite power back, but he only has half. I don't know what's going on there. Just like before, I like to call this the learning episode, as Bonsall tells her backstory of how she was a spell, then became accepted. Cough cough, this is about like gender stuff. Bonsall's great, and her sharp puns and personality are even better. The ninjas show their powers is basically, can you do spinjitzu? Yes, you go to Fang 2. Can you? No, go to Fang 1. Somehow Aaron's spinjitzu is getting worse, as it feels like he was doing well, got worse, and on a downtrend since. Learning dragons can do spinjitzu is also not surprising, as how do they get to other dimensions while they spin? Obviously, introduction to Rihanna's song, Ronin's introduction was great, as he had the Blade Cup in his shop and also from Chen's Island. Also, one more thing. Ronin had the scroll, which somehow none of them found. Kai's introduction of water is cute, but it doesn't matter because the rest of the series, Kai is involved in water and it does absolutely nothing. Yes, finally the Riders of Destinies are useless again, and Morrow is replaced and finally dead because there's a new elemental master of wind. Also, the worms being cursed is great because it stops them from finding out information they need, but also sets up a plot like who cursed them. One, I love the newspaper people. Kai's game from Pythor was amazing. It was the most mind-blowing thing ever, as the eject function actually worked. Pythor hunting them down was menacing, as if he touches them, they lose. Lloyd and Garmadon being in the library is interesting, as it showed an interaction between them that we don't usually get, as Lloyd is jealous that he doesn't have his father's love, but Harumi did and Christopher did. Also, a great character returning, Blazy Age Speed, or Racer 7 as she was known before, drives Vinny's car. And not only that, but Shintaro's message may have gone, may have not gone, which is also very plot heavy, as you don't know if they'll come to the rescue. Zane's last minute wake up, horrible. Like, please, no more Ice Emperor, no more Zane getting out of commission. And again, the best thing of the whole episode, the schmexiest thing, Fuji does mech. One thing you might not know about Kai, and that is that he's a terrible negotiator, which leads him to get captured by the Jinn. Also, Jay almost being bamboozled as well, as he wishes that he was never born in a junkyard, meaning his dad died, but it wasn't actually his dad, but the best actor dead. But he wishes for Nia to arrive, which is great as it drives the Jinn away, as he wants them by himself. Also, this makes Kai and Nia the only ones with an elemental mother that is still alive. I can definitely say that this season was a Jay season mainly, but also a Nia season, and them finding a ground where they do love each other and they want to be together, but how much independence Nia wants to have, and all being wrapped up with Nia taking Jay's hand, meaning the whole series basically didn't happen for everyone else. This episode makes me realize why Pixel didn't want to tell them that she is back, because Zane seems to over-rely on her and she wants independence, but she doesn't know how to tell Zane that. Also, the need for the 4 blades was apparent, as the mech wouldn't work without it, so why was Crux and Necronic so confused? Also, the Pause blade, they had no difficulty finding it, so again, why couldn't the ninjas have found the hideout earlier? Also, Kai just attacking his dad is so like him, do first, think later. So, guess what? Later on they do the exact same thing in a different way, but here the ninjas verse their fears to get the scroll, and Cole ends up being a ghost, which is very convenient, but also not, as it shows the risk of what the ghost can actually do if they catch the ninjas. Usually I hate it when the ninja skills reset, but here it's actually good, as it gives a good excuse and shows fun mechanics like double jump. Zane stealing the motherboard is so like him, as it adds stakes for the villains now to get to the heroes to stop them. So where did the swords come from? Because suddenly these people turned to Anaconda have the sharpest weapons, and are not actually sharp because they literally can't cut through plastic. Also, all the ninjas being able to create dragons of hope is great, and then when they don't have hope, they can't create these dragons. The moment Kai and Skylar put their guard down is when they got captured. Shows that Master was right, never put your guard down. The worst part of all this is the Smoke Ninja not having the mask instantly. Like, it would have solved so many of his problems. Also, Kai's ending up as being the sacrifice, as great as he's the only one who could do Rising Dragon and stop Shadow Spin, which I believe is just Angry Spin. Also, the Wolf Mask show they're more loyal to the Forbidden Five than Raz. Also, Raz revealing that his master was greater than the Forbidden Five made me think, again, as I said before, that's like the primordial Oni god or something. Scott's life literally ruined by Unagami as he entered the game when he was young and now he's, 20 years older or something. Also, something else is the name Fast Chicken. Why are the Rise so obsessed with chickens? I like the lightning chicken in the beginning. The ninja showing they can break the code shows that Unagami isn't as powerful as he made later on. I don't get why they made Zane's disguise like Flash and show who he really was, because that's like, so they would have found out his disguise anyway, even if it wasn't revealed by Harumi. Also, Cole's awful singing became weaponized here and actually helped him escape. And also, when Cole saw the basket, he kicked it, meaning Cole kicks babies officially. Also, Mr. E defeating Zane makes sense, as the robot is a more improved version than even the ninja. The ninja being broken in the game is so relatable, the struggle to get good. Also, the dance scene, I thought it was amazing. As Jay and Nia, those skills must have been bought in-game and not practiced, because it shows that all skills learned outside were gone, meaning the dance skills weren't actually real. I would say this episode is also ranked quite low surprisingly, because this is where Garmadon beats the living hell out of Lloyd, and everyone sees it live stream. But this episode does some other good things, as Garmadon starts in the trash and then he becomes the leader of Ninjago, showing that yes, he actually went through a plot progression through the episode. Also, you meet the Master of Trash, great guy. This whole season is about new and old, Chronic's own Will, then Sandus and the ninjas and technology and old times where there was no technology. Absolute cinema. Lloyd is telling everything that's happened in his life to Red, as I don't think he's been able to tell anyone this, and Red is basically his therapy animal, as he can reveal anything and she will not be able to know. But guess what? Red is actually Akita, a person, and now Akita knows everything about Lloyd and chooses to still like him. Also, we saw an animation change showing that to the people in Ninjago, they actually have 5 fingers, but from our perspective, they don't. Well, I'll say very smart going through the sewer, but of course they have security because this is what should be happening. Also, the shoulder pad's amazing. I should start wearing them. Without knowing this, that if the allies will actually come, this great plot device, as it adds tension, even though you know they will all come together so the ninjas can jump up, kick back, whip around, and spin. I would say this is an amazing episode, though Cole should not have used a rope of questionable integrity, otherwise he wouldn't have fallen. The callback to the golden armor having to be melted down into the weapons to regain its power. Oh my god, finally, it's like an Ouroboros where it started with them and now it's ending with them. Speaking about callbacks, do you remember the Tornado of Creation? Well, here they do it again, and it is beautiful as Garmadon, a creature of destruction, joins. Now he's confused about who he is, because he is now creating something and helping, which comes into play in the later seasons. This episode just reminded me of Wu saying don't become too overly reliant on your powers, but become powerful yourself, because here there's a bunch of Venge Stone and they can't even use their powers. Also, the shallow perspective of the ninjas to others is shown as they believe that they're cardboard cutouts, but makes sense as they haven't really seen the ninjas. Love how they play broken telephone to gather the monsters and the geckos, and they think they're fighting. The ninja being separated is great, as it allows them to interact with the monsters and geckos and really get to know the world. I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point, but Ninja Tech, the ninjas are actually doing pretty well at this point, seeing it's the start of the season. Jay has become an entertainer on a TV show, Cole is working as a lumberjack guy, and Kai is at an underground fight ring. Again, an arcane reference like Vi after the incident. I love Aquino. Aquino just wants to do his job, and I believe not every challenger, but quite a few of the challengers that came in weren't actually people, and they were designed to die to strengthen Aquino's will. Because at the end of the series, you see some of these people walk out, like the gamer girl I think was a tag, and if she was a real person, it would have come out as a real person. So I think something's going on there. Eren and Sora both feel powerless for different reasons, but I think this is best as giving a reason why Wu in the beginning could see into the future, as his incented candles or whatever could have been infused with primordial dragon energy, or somehow he has a connection with the primordial dragons, giving him that ability. So although the ninjas could have just flown over and skipped all the trials until the last one, going through them was actually not bad, as unlike season 5 where I found them kind of dumb, here they actually made sense and they were challenging. And Nia breaking out, seeing that Jay acted poorly to her, I just hate how they made that reality though. And here is where everything actually happens. The ninja easily escaped Kalmar with the only point to tell about the storm amulet, Jay sacrificing himself to recharge the bounty, the coup happening where in front of the ninjas the king dies, the king believing in ninjas and telling his son with his last breath. Why didn't the king just announce to everyone, or at least say out loud with the guards running about? Also, it might have sounded like I repeated myself, but I just talked about the ending and the beginning of the episode before. I'll start with the issue. So one is, they used Spinjus of Creation to defeat all the skeletons, so why in season 13 didn't they do the same thing to defeat the skeletons? Also, Garmadon factoring in that some guy would betray him, amazing, as it showed he was menacing and calculating and he didn't know what he was going to do in the future. The dragons traveling to the realm show that they can use spinjitzu, as he did a little spin to get there. Also, Cole being forced to ride the dragon, being afraid of them, is great, as he must have gone over that fear, as he's not afraid of dragons anymore. I would say one of the best things season 15 did do is humanize Harumi, as she either does have feelings for Lloyd, or they could be platonic, and she really just likes Garmadon and wants to be his son, or daughter, I guess. The awakening of the Crystal Army is an oh shit moment, as now they have to fight against their greatest enemies, which suppress their powers. Also, Harumi gets screwed over by the Overlord so much, partly because she doesn't have a fancy weapon and does the majority of the work. Lloyd, believing that everyone is good, treats Harumi well and as a human, even though clearly she's made him a bad or worse person, I would say. Wu going against his morals to rescue the bounty shows that he is also growing as a master. I can tell there's a Mad Max Fury reference, but I haven't seen it, so I don't know. Also, Jay is absolutely amazing, as finding his back to his it's a bad situation, let me be positive kind of attitude. Also, the ninja meeting with the other elemental masters is great callback, as I didn't know that they would come. But in season 15, it's not as good because they only had 4 seasons, really 5, to build up people to come. Where here they had a whole 8 seasons to build up characters to help the ninjas. Also, Mr. F being torn apart, he deserves better. Truth seems to be the main part of this episode. As the ninjas accept the armor's existence with faith, Iron Baron's people start to realize that the Onis, where are they? Also, Iron Baron realizing that his clever ruse is about to be undone, so he needs the armor to defend himself. The plan to take Garmadon's power was also great, as it showed that Garmadon's power is elemental energy in a way, meaning it can be copied by Skylar. I have assembled a bit of a hierarchy in Garmadon's situation. Top being Christopher, then Harumi, then Vinny, then the pizza guy, then Lloyd. I think Lloyd is the bottom, just because. Also, Garmadon showing that the Overlord's return was foreseen through chaos is a bit iffy because there's always chaos going on, but him transforming for Christopher, shedding tears. When Zane used his ice powers underwater, shouldn't they have made like at least line of ice from his hands instead of just a block in front of them, as it feels like the water wasn't even touching him then. Also, Benthamar is the MVP, as establishes that Garmadon and Wu's brother-sibling rivalry is apparent here with him and Kalmar. Also, Kalmar's self-obsessed nature and lack of care for others is exhibited through him putting his people, citizens, through danger, as he's chasing the ninjas and he doesn't care. Also, Pixel, using devices to lure the missiles away, is so great, as it shows she has grown as a person. Also, Benthamar's backstory reminds me of Cinderella, where he's being mistreated, but he wants to believe the best in his family. I feel like Garmadon is characterized the best here, as he's being a nuisance, and I love it. Also, you can tell it's coming to the end of the season because Jay is going to ask Nia to be his Yang, but I don't think they continue this in the later episodes or seasons, because this is just like forgotten, brushed under the rug. Also, Lloyd struggling to breathe shows that yes, even though he's a quarter Oni, he's not invincible. Now, I promise it was just coincidence that both season 10 episodes were in 2 blocks, but there's a reason, because they're just as good as each other. So Garmadon's prediction came true, as I'm not a fan that he knew the Onis were going to come, that he was defending them from them, which is a bit iffy, but otherwise than that, pretty fun prediction. The black tendrils coming out of the realm crystal added drama, as there was also a threat. The people weren't zombies, they were petrified, and he didn't know how long it was going to last. Cole's past is caught up with him, as he has come to his father because they need the Blade Cup to make his father proud, which is a good message, and cheating isn't, which they were originally going to do. And showing how Cole's ninja training has transitioned into him being a good dancer is also very fun to see. In season 16 at the end we saw the portal, and now in season 17 it's in the junkyard of Cole, meaning that the Imperial must be still using the trash heap to throw stuff away. The ninja finding out the Spinjitzu master where the dragons isn't very surprising, as we've seen dragons do Spinjitzu before. Unlike Nia, who got her powers back pretty fast compared to Kai struggling to get his back and actually feeling like he earned it is amazing, as they need the fire to live. Also, Lloyd going on his own to find Zane is kind of dumb, but also not, as it's a fact. If they're using this ice thing to watch them, splitting up is better. But what can I say? He got caught instantly. Also, Lloyd being alone resembles a bad trait of his. Sometimes he believes the weight of the world is on his shoulders. Moro being so powerful now and getting so weak later, so infuriating. He literally incapacitates the ninjas so easily, but it means nothing in the end. The ninja feel responsible happened to Lloyd, making sense, as they view him as a younger brother. Also, Nia discovering that she's the daughter of the elemental master of water is great, but why didn't they tell her earlier? Like, surely they could have hinted at it or told her, we have something to tell you. Also, the reveal that the ghosts are weak to water is great, as it shows that Nia will be vitally important to defeating Moro. I find it funny the reliance the monsters and the geckos have on their leaders, as it's literally the exact same, as they can't make peace without their leaders saying something. Also, the Uplies riding up is great, as it shows Cole's power to join ragtag groups and literally integrate with them, fighting the lava monster, amazing, and then bursting out the ground and the guy going, huh? Did he say something? They sound like, whoa! A well-written character is not invincible, and Sora shows this as she had a block that she could not overcome, but by seeing her parents don't care for her, she overcame this barrier, and now she can use her powers freely, which leads to defeating the Empress. And the Empress defeating herself is literal cinema. Also, Lloyd stabilizing the merged realms with these orbs was amazing, as it showed that he has room to grow as well. Also, I forgot the girl's name, but her and Ra's meeting, excellent cliffhanger. Finally, the episode is here. Here's where Lloyd realizes, no, I shouldn't use force to defeat my father, but I should use what he told me in season 3 and use his strength against him, which works extremely fast, which shows our Oni's really that weak. Also, at the end where everyone was with their favorite person, Cole just sees the kid and gets excited, and I just love that for him. I love how no one can regress because they instantly get thrown into the drama. As we go from the first to last episode here in the ranking, no one recognizing Dareth, it's like, can we just let that die? I know it doesn't die, but he literally was so prominent with the ninjas, surely people should recognize him. Also, back in the other dimension, Wu growing up faster shows the effects are wearing off. Also, the ninjas reuniting with Karloff, I love Karloff. I love how you see that people are actually fans of the ninjas, but that's not important. What is important is you meet the new elemental masters and you see that the snail guy is the elemental master of nature, which shows that the other guy died. But getting him kicked out for fake crime, the most plot convenient thing ever, as he would have thrashed the competition, as he is ruthless and powerful. This is the beginning of a bad Zane trend where it's fine to get a machine destroyed, but not a person, so whenever they need something to happen, it usually happens to Zane. But him taking down the Overlord was great, as he remembered, protect those who can't protect themselves. Also, Pythor jumping in front of the Overlord surely just keeps his mouth shut and he doesn't ingest the pill. Yes, I know, how could the pilot not be in the top 10 when it's an excellent episode? But compared to the rest of the series, then it diminishes in value. You barely get to see them struggle with all the dragons, like how did they tame them? But still, everything looks iconic, from Nia getting captured to Kai teaming up with the other ninjas to getting the golden weapons to defeat Garmadon. Cole is unarguably the worst with technology, and him trying to make this fake dragon is great, as he's the least tech savvy. Also, Iron Baron is a male counterpart of Beatrix, as they share similar qualities, being dictators, ruling with an iron fist, using dragons to see their society, and the losing sight to hunt the dragons to the ninjas, showing that gender doesn't really matter when you got a good picture of who the characters are. I don't know why Cole said in season 13 that this is probably the worst situation they faced, as getting stranded in space with limited oxygen and bugs that could eat through your suit at any moment seems pretty dangerous to me. Sora is great as shows she does have imposter syndrome, as she is training under the best ninjutsu master and doesn't feel worthy. Frack choosing not to use a wolf mask symbolizes that he trusts the ninjas from his idolization of them. The reveal that the uncle's working for Raz is great, as it shows all the clues coming up, and I actually was genuinely surprised, as I thought for a bit it could have been the kid. Signal being the signal, Korgan is amazing. The series theme of Lily being a symbol and the swords being a symbol is great, as it wasn't what others thought but how they perceived you, which Cole realizes, allowing him to use his mother's spin jutsu to defeat the Skull Sorcerer. Also, Cole acknowledging Vani's strength is a core part of him, as he's able to see past status and symbols and who they really are. Generally good stakes, as the ninjas need a dragon core, but the people here need a dragon core to keep away this monster. You can instantly notice that the Hoarder is more interested in Imperial tech than anything else, revealing what the monster actually is. Seeing the Imperial portal gates also indicates that this is a dumping ground for Imperial, also shown by the trash again. LaRoe defeating Sora with Imperial tech just shows how classed they are compared to her, as LaRoe is not a fighter. Kinda like in season 5 with Nia needing to learn her water powers and is having a block for some reason, Sora's going through the same thing. Seeing the past masters is actually kinda sad, as not all of them are alive, only 2 are, Wu and Garmadon, and technically Kai and Nia's parents, but they weren't at that battle. Also, Crux and Necronix returning just as they lost is brilliant, as all the masters would be tied from the initial fight. Kai and Nia doing so much damage makes sense, as the brothers have to use the dragon mech and can't use the time powers, so they are also at a disadvantage. The reveal that Nia went to get out the time blade makes sense, as it did drop soon after. Also, the sibling vs sibling metaphor, amazing, and it's wonderful. Minus J being horrible, the rest of this episode is really good. Wildfire being a menace is great, as she and Kai would have done the exact same thing to the Master of Smoke. Raz using the Master of Smoke to disqualify the ninjas, but Zane, knowing the rule book, finds a loophole. Also, the race is obviously a callback to season 2 with Garmadon, and also Raz revealing that he wanted to reverse the merge is great, as now gives Eren a bit of a conundrum. I feel like the Forbidden Master was not finding full capacity, as he wanted Sora to free him from the manipulation. Also, the reveal that Blech was a traitor reminds me of Crux, as they both hate modernism. Also, the reveal that Jordana, yes, the girl whose name we've forgotten, has been possessed, and that Raz has been betrayed seems to crush him, as he may generally be trying to reverse the merge. All I'll say is Eren and Sora were the perfect 2 people to be created, as Lloyd has instant chemistry with them, as he now has to be the teacher of them. Also, looking from outside perspective, Eren is over the moon that he is recognized by Lloyd, as he is like a superstar status. The threat of Raz showing up, as he expected, shows that yes, the claws of Imperium are greater than you might think. Also, Lloyd not being depowered, oh my god, I felt so good that he was as strong as before. Harumi wanting to become Garmadon's daughter shows me that this might have been her plan all along. Also showing that Garmadon might be more human than you might think. Misaki coming out as Oni, it's great because it shows that no one's nature decides at birth, but it's the path they choose to take. Kai shows how much he has grown as he shows Wildfire how to be calm, and even Wildfire calls him like calm, which is very funny to him. Meeting Zane in the administration was out of a horror show, as it's endless work, and that doesn't really bother Zane. The fact that Aaron's good nature of sharpening pencils turned into helping them, perfect writing, and Zane being god tier at filling out forms is amazing. Although I dissed season 11's beginning, this is actually pretty good. The ninjas meet this come upon the earth clutch powers that helps them through the temple, and you can tell how full of himself he is through his book. Freeing a sphere is great as they meet a serpentine that can use spin jutsu and still elemental powers. A great first part followed by the news story as they have to deliver the news to Wu that the ninjas are trapped. You meet a returning face who on the job being Nelson, who's now a paperboy and he really wants to go, and that's why the ninjas got saved, meaning it was less plot convenient. Jay is always the best person as is always positive in his like, who ate my pudding in a serious conversation. The introduction of a metal that can absorb elemental powers. Wait, absorb elemental powers? Like something they could have used to help Nia? But as we also learned, elemental powers never go away, so they would have naturally returned. But I think the metal contained their powers, so one day it could have returned to the actual elemental masters. Crux wanting to destroy all the watchers is great, as he hates shows and technology. The ninja randomly deciding to fight the enemy just shows how up themselves they are, as they didn't all go, maybe we should fight this one serpentine we've never seen together. No, let's roll the dice and fight them one by one. Not great. The Forbidden Five returning and being knocked out is pretty fun, as it shows that we do not know their true power yet. I don't know why Kai didn't just return with them initially, but had to come through later. Also, Eren deciding to go with Raz is great, as it now separates the perspective and you get to learn more about him. The effect of Iron Baron really is powerful, as even when she did betray them and Iron Baron knew that they betrayed them, she still wore her mask, showing that he has had an effect on her. Also, Dareth definitely has inferiority complex, as he's surrounded by powerful people, so he goes to Misaki to get some, and that actually helps them. I literally don't know if without the vision, if Lloyd would have actually beaten her faster, as the visions actually led to the conclusion, and without it, would it really have happened? Jay and Nia being the last two is very reminiscent of season 6, and then Nia getting defeated next. Yeah, very season 6 like. Also, they showed Ninjago's capacity of having stories with a surprising ending, as it wasn't a big fight, it was a talk between the creator and his creation. I love the paper delivery people, but also it shows the power people, as Kalma admitted that the closest person to defeating him was them. The inclusion of the paper kids was the best decision in the continuation, as it showed more human sides of Ninjago. A negative is that the ninjas not realizing that the amulet was fake, couldn't seen because Zane detected it earlier. Also, Cole going to Shintaro was great, as it showed he actually did have a strong relationship with them. From one news to another, the ninjas now must convince everyone that Lloyd is safe. I love how Lloyd isn't super confident, but he actually takes a break so people can see how hurt he is, but even how hurt he is, he still wants to fight back. I feel like this is a great episode for Will, actually, because Will doesn't internalize the messages I feel like it's teaching the ninjas. But here it's saying ninjas never quit, and so don't masters. So why is it when the Overlord invades Ninjago, does he say, we're quitting? I think that's because he does backtrack on what he thinks, and is not as strong as he comes out to be. I don't know if you've clocked it in yet, but I really like season 16 and 17, as I feel like they reinvented the wheel without changing too much, with the two new characters being Eren and Sora, a fresher breath air. But this is exactly what Ninjago actually needed, because I felt like it was getting a bit stale with the Overlord and everyone trying to take over Ninjago City, but now you have the crossroads and a new world to explore. I think Eren learning from Frack shows what Shadow Spin could be, which is just an angry version of Spin Jutsu. Cole's friendliness with Frack shows that Cole is just that good of a guy. Although I've been glazing this, I think someone should have noticed that the gem teleported with Nia's fight and complained, or even looked it up, which Zane could have done. Also, putting Sora in a match against Cinder where Brains would win is obviously dumb, and why would Blech do that? Except if he was working with the Forbidden Five to make Sora win, so Sora would verse the Forbidden Five and free him. You get a fun animation change as you get to learn who the D&D party is, being a mage, rogue, barbarian, and an animal companion, as they help the Skull Sorcerer get his skull, and were banished by the king. The story shows how they became the lowly, but also the animation change again shows that they actually have 5 fingers and we just see them having Lego hands. One thing I loved in the pilot was the ninjas using the skeletons to do spin jutsu, and Sora and Eren here learn to use their training from Lloyd through Domama, and how it actually does apply more than they would think. Lloyd not knowing how to be a teacher is also good, as he has never been in this situation and he is thinking like Will and not like Lloyd. You get another animation change, and here you get 2 out of 3 of some of my favorite characters, being UV and Fujidub, as they go through their crazy stories of how the ninjas defeated them. I do like the mechanics, as it shows like Nia stole his truck and she said, I'm not going to return it. Or Fujidove saying Jay's super strong and heroic as he shoots lightning everywhere. Yuvi saying they were defeated by Zane, making it sound super acrobatic. It's just nice to see them exchanging stories and see that they all have something in common, followed by the message. Not nearly as good as the episode before, but okay, as Cole scares the kids with his tails in the Nether Realm, which is kind of funny as the story. I don't know how scary that was. What I find funnier is Yuvi. She had a poster of Cole's dad there. I'm usually not a really big fan of Zane talking in a different voice, but here it was incredible. He was like a detective, it was noir style, and it actually helped the plot, as when Zane got captured, Pixel started talking in the silly voice, and then found Milton Dyer. Also, unlike before, the second episode was just as good as Dyer has to confront the idea that his creations has feelings and is real, and Mechanic tries to complete his objective, which guess what, he does, which is super scary. But sadly, Zane's whole drama with, oh no, we're gonna die, doesn't even happen because, again, no consequences. When I watched this episode, I knew it was the best episode because the sacrifice mattered until next season, but it still mattered Nia having to give up everything to save not only Jay, but the whole city who hadn't drowned. Also, she looks menacing and powerful. In the episode, gender didn't matter, Nia was Nia. The memorial at the end was also beautiful, as unlike Zane's death where not many people showed up and his statue was disrespected, everyone came to mourn her because she did save the city from its biggest threat. Just a perfect ending to season 14, and it would never reverse this. Also, Fujidove, best character.